How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video. So I don't know how to start this, but I know a lot of y'all have been asking me for any type of updates on the Xbox exploit or hack or jailbreak, however you want to call it. And there is an exploit already, which we're going to be covering on this video. The reason why I haven't done any type of updates is because this exploit is mainly for devs, and there's nothing that you can do with it at the moment. Maybe you can do some side loading of emulators, and if that's possible, then I'll do another video on setting that up. But for now, the exploit is mainly for devs, and there's no homebrew or side loading or whatever that are the plans for this exploit. So with this video, I finally got the things that are needed in order for us to even continuing this exploit process. And now that I have them ready, I thought it'd be a good time to show y'all the process and see if it works for us. So in this video, the purpose is to further prepare the Xbox with the exploit, and by the end of this, you should have your Xbox completely ready for this exploit or any type of apps or homebrew, whatever it's going to be next, and you should be good to go. But with that being said, let's go ahead and check it out. Okay, so before we get started with downloading the files that we need for today, you do need to have the Xbox already prepared for this exploit and also have the game script. So if you don't have this, or if you're new to this video, then chances are you're out of luck or out of time, because it's a specific firmware, and also you need to have the game script app, and it's no longer available in the App Store. So I do have a previous video on this, so if you got to see that video, then you should be good to go. Okay, so the next thing that I want to mention is an optional device that we could use to make this entire process significantly better. So this is what I'm talking about. Right here I have a Raspberry Pi Pico. Actually, it's a Raspberry Pi Pico W. And with this device, you can use some scripts that is called Pico Ducky, and you would turn this device into a rubber ducky. And what you would use this with is on the Xbox game script. So on that one, we have to add the code or the script in order to run the exploit, and it's about maybe 200 to 300 lines, and you would use this to plug into your Xbox, and it would automatically type it for you. These are very cheap. I bought this one for maybe about $5, and it's optional still. You could use a keyboard and type out the code yourself, but I wanted to do that, but it's a lot. So I thought it would just be a lot easier, and I think it's a good trade-off for $5 for what we can potentially do with the Xbox later on. Okay, now we can go ahead and download the files that we need for today, and all of the links are going to be in the description for you. So let's go ahead and start with the first one. Once you click on the link that says click here for the Netcat for Windows, it should take you to this GitHub page. And I'm sorry about this part, but I'll be honest, I have no idea what Netcat for Windows is or was. I just started to read about it as I've been doing this research, so I have no information on what this is for you. So I'm sorry about that, but basically the gist of it is that it's going to allow us to have the PC and the Xbox communicate through a server, and that's how the exploit works. So if you want to read about it, you can go ahead and scroll through here, and that's up to you. But with that out of the way, it's important. So in order to download Netcat for Windows, we have these two options here. And the reason why we have two options is because this first option here, nc.exe, this is for those of you that have an operating system that is 32 bits. And the other option here is the nc64.exe. This is for those of you that have the operating system that is 64 bits. So depending on which system you have, you're going to click on the link that your operating system. I have a 64-bit, so I'm going to go ahead and click on this link here. Once you click on either link, it'll take you to this next page, and here is the download link for this Netcat for Windows. Once you have it downloaded, you can have it moved to the desktop like I have done already. Now, if you don't have this option here, there is these three dots that you can click on and start the download process with this link here. Once you have Netcat for Windows, we can move on to the next link in the description, which is going to be the Pico Ducky GitHub page. Now here you can also scroll through this and read about what the Pico Ducky does or the information on it, but we're going to go to this release page here that says Pico W support. That is the latest. So we want to make sure that we have the latest version of these files. So once we click on this, we're gonna scroll down, and here we have the options of the different locations. So if you know your location, you can go ahead and click on the zip file. I am from the US, so I'm going to go ahead and click on this Pico Ducky v 2.0 us.zip. So once you click on it, it starts the download process. Then you can have it moved to the desktop like I have done already. Now the last thing that we're going to need to download is the actual exploit, which is the collateral damage. Once you click on that link, it should take you to this GitHub page called collateral damage, and here is the kernel exploit for the Xbox System OS. Same thing, you can go ahead and read about it. There's a lot of information here that is interesting, and we can go to the release page here and click on the latest link that they have for collateral damage. And here in the assets tab, we're going to want to click on this collateral damage v1 remote.zip, because that is what we're going to use with the Pico device. So once you click on that, you can have that moved to the desktop as well. Now that we have all the files, we can go ahead and start extracting them. So if you want to follow along with me, I'm going to be using 7-zip. And if you don't have that, I'll have a link in the description to download 7-zip. And then if you want to, you can follow along with me after. Okay, so with 7-zip, we're going to start with collateral damage. I'm going to right click on it and then open up 7-zip and then open archive. Once we have the archive open, we can highlight this folder here and drag it to the desktop or extract it to the desktop. Once you have that on the desktop, we can close the archive and do the same thing with the Pico Ducky. Now the Pico Ducky is different with 7-zip. Once you open the archive, it does not have a folder that you can, a default folder. So we're going to have to create one. So we're going to right click and then a new folder. We can name it whatever we want, but I'm just going to name it Pico Ducky. Press enter. Once you have this folder created, you can highlight all the files in the archive and then extract them into the Pico Ducky folder. Once you're done, you can go ahead and close out and check to see if we have the files extracted into here, which we do. And then same thing with the collateral damage. Same thing with what we do. All right. Now let's go ahead and set up the Raspberry Pi Pico. Okay, so to get started with setting up the Raspberry Pico device, we are first going to open up the Pico Ducky folder, and we need to delete these payload.dd files. So we have 4 of them. Highlight the first one through the 4th and delete, because we're going to be adding our own payload.dd file later. With those deleted, we can now get our Raspberry Pico device. And in order to enter this for the first time, you have this boot button here. It's pretty blurry. Maybe I'll put a picture on the screen. But there's this beige boot button that you hold down. So you hold it down and then you plug in the device to the PC. If done correctly, you should see your device pop up here, and it should be RP1 and RP2. So these are the 2 files that I have on my Pico device. And with that, we can move it to the side, and we're going to open up the Pico Ducky file again. And depending on the type of Raspberry Pico device that you have, is going to determine which software version you're going to use. So for me, I have a Raspberry Pi Pico W. Now, if you don't have a Pico W, then you're going to be using the other one. So since I have a Pico W, I'm going to right click and copy and then paste it into the RP1, RP2 drive. This is going to copy over the software and then start the installation process. So it should eject and come back as a different device. Okay, we got the ejection. It should come back as a new device for us. So let's see how it goes. All right, so here we go. We now have the Circuit Pi. I don't know how to say it, but there we go. So you may have more files than me, you may have less, but all that matters is this boot underscore out.txt. So we're good here. Now what we need to do next is start adding the files onto this drive. So let's open up the Pico Ducky again, and now we need to add these Pi files. So I'm going to highlight all the Pi files. It should be 6 Pi files, and then copy and then paste them to the drive, to the root of the drive. If you get this message here that says there's already a file named code, just go ahead and replace the file in the destination, because we need this file. Alright, so after those have copied over, now we can go ahead and right click on this lib folder and copy and then paste it. Okay, so after the lib folder has copied over, we now have the rubber ducky set up. Now all we need to do now is add the exploit from the collateral damage. So let's go ahead and enter the collateral damage folder, and here we have the game script that we need to add to the Pi, but we need to edit it first. So since we are using a rubber ducky, we're going to be using this game script, network ducky.txt, and we can open it up, and here we can see the code that's going to be used on the Xbox. So if you don't have the rubber ducky and you're going to try and type this out yourself, keep in mind that all this right here is something that you have to type in yourself. So it is a lot of typing, and I didn't want to do that. So the best thing to do here is use the rubber ducky method, because all we're going to have to do is just input our IP address and add it to the rubber ducky or the Raspberry Pi, and it's going to do everything for us. So before we start adding our IP address, we got to make a copy of this file. So we're going to go ahead and right click and copy and then paste into the same folder. And now we're going to open this up and move it to the side. So now we need to find our IP address. So this is important. You need to be on the same network as your Xbox. So the same IPv4 network that you have on your PC. However, you're going to do it with a router, with your phone. In this method, I'm using my cell phone as my hotspot because my routers are IPv6. So my phone is the only thing that's IPv4. I may change my router later on, maybe because since my phone might be a little bit slower with load times. But we're going to use my phone for now. And with that, right, I am connected to my phone. So now we need to find my IP address or your IP address. So we're going to open up a command prompt. And however you open up your command prompt, but once you open it up, you're going to type in ipconfig. And here we have the internet adapter, but we're not looking for that. I am on a Wi-Fi with my phone, and this is going to be my IP address. So make sure you have the right IPv4 address if you're going to be using it. And let's keep in mind that, and go back to the script here and delete the open bracket or close bracket, I don't know what it's called, until you have the two quotations here, and type in your IP address from your screen, not my IP address, from my screen. So mine is 168.103.157. After that, you can go ahead and exit out and save this file. Once you save the file, we can close out of the command prompt, and here with our copy text, we need to change the extension file. So before we do that, if you don't have it already enabled, you can go on View here on Windows 10, and here under Show/Hide, you have the file extension names. So we need to have it active in order to change this file name. So we go back to Add the file extension names. Now we can go to this copy text and rename it, and we're going to name it payload. Can't see, my mic is in the way. Payload.dd. So erase that, .dd, and press enter. It should ask you this, that it's going to be unusable, but we need to change it this way, so click on yes. After that, you can right click on it and copy, and then go to your Raspberry Pi drive and paste. Okay, so now that we have all the files that we need in our Raspberry Pi, we should be good to go and have this ready for the Xbox. So now I'm going to go ahead and right click and eject. And now I'm going to unplug my Raspberry Pi. Okay, so next we're going to set up the netcat for Windows. And in order to do this, we're going to open up the collateral damage folder, and we're going to highlight the netcat file that we downloaded earlier. So mine is the nc64.exe, and if you download the 32-bit version, yours would be the nc.exe. So the file you downloaded earlier, you're going to highlight and put inside the collateral damage folder. So once you're done with that, you're going to go ahead and open up a command prompt with administration rights. So I'm going to go ahead and type in search cmd. And here we're going to right click and run as administrator. So once you allow the administration rights, we're going to go ahead and go into this directory. So we do that by typing in cd space, go into the collateral damage folder, right click in this area here for the address, copy address, and then go and right click inside the command prompt. Once you have this, you can go ahead and press enter. And then we can go ahead and type in the netcat version that we have. So if you have the netcat version, you just type in nc.exe. But since I have the netcat 64, I'm going to type in the nc64.exe. What? I can't see my keyboard. .exe space dash lvnp space 7070 and press enter. So now we have the netcat running, and we're going to have this running in the background. It's listening on port 7070. And after that, we can go ahead and now set up the Xbox. Okay, so here on the Xbox, before we go online, let's go ahead and check to see if the game script still works for us. And if you saw my previous video on preparing the Xbox for this exploit, you should have already ran game script, and it should have created an offline cache and run offline. So let's see if it runs for me, and it looks like it's still good on my end, and I hope it's good on your end as well. So with that, we can now go ahead and connect online. Now this part is extremely important, so I want to be very clear with y'all, and please listen up, that when you're going to connect to the internet, it is very important that you have already prepared your Xbox with the DNS servers that block Xbox Live. Also, in the settings and the updates, unchecked the automatic updates. And last, which is very, very important, is your network address. So the Xbox does run on IPv4 and IPv6. So if your network does have IPv6, you can accidentally update and mess all this up, and you won't be able to do this anymore, and or probably ever. So we don't know if there's going to be any type of updates for newer firmwares, but for sure, if you mess up this, then it's not going to work for you. So you need to be extremely careful. With that being said, let's go ahead and go and connect online and show you what I'm talking about. So in the settings, let's go to system and just show y'all that I am on the correct OS version. I'll probably put an arrow somewhere on the screen that you have to have the last ones. That's 4478. I think there's 2 more versions up, and maybe that'd be good for you. So in the updates as well, I'm not connected to internet, so it shouldn't do anything for me, but I do have these unchecked just in case. All right, so now we can go ahead and connect to the network, and you also want to make sure that you're connected to the same network as your PC. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on go online. I forgot all of my networks just in case. I don't want to accidentally go online and maybe pick up an IPv6 on accident. So I got rid of all my networks. In advanced settings, what I'm talking about here right in the middle, I'll put an arrow probably, and there's the connections, and it's the IPv4. It only works in IPv4. If you have an IPv6 on your router or your network settings, then it will pick up and it will bypass the DNS for blocking Xbox, and you will sign in. And it's very possible that you update and mess this up. So I just want to be really, really clear on that. Under that is the DNS, and the DNS servers have to be on 1.27 0.0.1 on both primary and secondary. But you should have done this on the previous video, and we should be good to go. So now I'm going to go ahead and connect to my network, and the network is mainly just to cross the connection between your PC and your Xbox. So even if you're using your hotspot or your router that has IPv4, you could disconnect the internet from it, because we're just trying to get a connection between both. Because once I connect to here, it's going to fail because of the blocking of DNS. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and look for a connection. I'm going to connect to my phone, type in my password. Okay, so now I'm connecting to my hotspot on my phone, and well, it should fail because I have the DNS blocking. Okay, so it failed because the DNS is working now. And we don't need to check again. We can just go ahead and push the home button and get out of here. Now what we can do is set up the game script with the Raspberry Pi. So let's go ahead and start that. Alright, so now we need to set up the game script. So let's go ahead and enter the game script. And here we can use our buttons to navigate these windows. So if you hold X, you can highlight the windows that you're on and use the analog to move your windows. Now that we have that, we need to have the game script, and we also need to have the code to run. So let's use X and then press one of the shoulder buttons to change windows. And once you're on Windows, you can scroll down to show code run window. There we go. And then we can do the same thing with code run and move it to the side. There we go. So with that, we can go back to the game script, and in here we're going to want to navigate to, you highlight the whole square and then push Y, I believe. Yeah. So once you have Y, and then just push B, because we want to make sure that the cursor is blinking on the game script. Now that we have that, we can go ahead and use our Raspberry Pi device. If everything goes well, I should be able to plug this in, and you don't have to push the boot button no more. It's already set up, so just plug it into your Xbox, and if everything goes well, it should start automatically typing out the code. Go. Give it some time, and there we go. Typing out the code. So this takes about 10 minutes to type out, and once it's done, I'll get right back to you. Okay, so the Raspberry Pi has finished typing everything, and that took maybe about 10 or 11 minutes. But once it's done typing, you can go ahead and unplug your Raspberry Pi device. All right. And for some reason, there's something that I noticed on the top of this script. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into it. See, how do I do that? I can push B. Yeah, and then I push A on this area, and I can use my analog to scroll up. So I don't know if it's important, but it did not type out the beginning of this code. Here in the collateral damage, here is the code, and this is what I'm looking for. This part is completely not in there. Am I wrong or something? So I'm gonna go ahead and type that in, because I don't know if it's important or not. But we can do that with a keyboard, or you can do that with the controller, but it's easier with the keyboard. Y, I believe, and I can go into the code with my keyboard, and I'm gonna just type out that line. I have no idea why it didn't type it out. It makes me feel like it's not important, but I mean, it's part of the script, and you know, from doing stuff with scripts with the Switch, I already know that if that part of the script is not there, then it's not gonna work. So it looks like we have a space here. I think that's the way it's supposed to be. This is like this. Yeah. I think so. But that should be the script. I'm going to get out. And now what we can do is finish setting up the PC with, now we're going to have the, I guess it's the netcat that runs the payload. So let me go ahead and go to the PC now. Okay, so back at the PC, we still have the netcat for Windows still running in the background, and that's fine. That's exactly what we want. We're going to leave it like that. We're going to open up another command prompt. So I'm going to look for command prompt and right click and run as administrator. Once we have access, we're going to do the same thing and enter the directory of collateral damage. So cd space, open up the collateral damage folder and right click, copy address, and right click inside the command prompt and then press enter. Now what we're going to do is type in this line, which is going to be payload underscore server underscore win underscore x64 .exe, and all I'm typing is this line here, and then I'm going to push space. I'm going to do dash dash stage 2 space stage 2 .bin space dash dash run space run .exe and push enter. And you should have this line or this show up, which is saying server listening and file listener listening. So now we have the netcat listening for our payload on port 7070, and this one is trying to run the payload. Now all we need to do is run the script code on the Xbox to see if it works. But before we do that, I would like to mention that for some strange reason, my Windows Defender kept deleting this payload server exe. So if you press enter and it says it cannot find it, check your folder and see if any one of the files are missing. And if they are, it's possible that your Windows Defender or your antivirus is deleting it. So I disabled my Windows Defender just so that way I can do this real quick. And now we are good to go. So what we can do now is go to the Xbox and try and run this code. So let me open up the Xbox for y'all. I'm gonna lower this and see if it runs. So on the Xbox, we can highlight or press X to change windows and go to code run. And here, all I need to do is go to code run once. So click on it and your Xbox is going to freeze because that's just the way it is. And that's all right. But what we are most interested in is these two command prompts and see if we are able to get access to the kernel of the Xbox. So it did not work for me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out, turn off my Xbox and try again. Okay, so we are back and I'm going to make sure that I am still on the same networks. I just saw that my PC is not on the same network as my phone, so that's why it did not work. So let me check my Xbox. My Xbox is connected to my phone, but my PC is not, so I can show you here. Okay, so I just plugged in my Wi-Fi card. I'm going to connect to my hotspot on my phone. And we are connected. So my PC's connected, my Xbox connected. Let's go ahead and try and run the code again. Cool thing about trying again is that the game script does keep a cache, so you don't have to type in the code again. My Xbox is frozen. It might crash, but you know, that's how it is. It's not that stable, so you might have to stop and try again, but looks like we got some movement here on this side. So after that, it should open up this area, and this area should have access to my Xbox. So hasn't happened anything yet. Oh my goodness. Y'all would not believe how stressed I am making this video. I have been recording since last night at 9:30 p.m. It is currently 7:30 a.m. So I've been recording all night long or trying to attempt this exploit since yesterday. and I finally got it to work. So on the video, it's going to be pretty short for y'all, or as long as the video is, it's not going to be all night long. But I am going to try it again because I did several different things. I retried it and retried it, and there was nothing wrong with the step-by-steps that I did. The only thing that I changed was the way I entered the netcat for Windows. So I did the same thing where I type the nc64.exe and the -lvnp port 7070, but this time I added -s and added my IP address because for some strange reason, I don't know why, I would have an established connection on the payload, but nothing would happen with the netcat for Windows. It would just crash my game script and couldn't figure it out. Also, I feel like my Xbox One S may be too weak for this, and well, I did it maybe 4 times. I actually tried maybe 12 times, but with this new line here, I did it maybe about 3 to 4 times, and I finally got it to work. So before I try again and see if it works, I wanted to show you what it looks like when it actually exploits the Xbox. So like I said, this is mainly just for devs, that there's really nothing that you can do here. But once you have an established connection, your Xbox will still stay frozen because you can't really do anything with it right now. But here we have an established connection to the drive of the Xbox or the kernel. So I don't know anything on this part, but from what I know, that you can type this and see if it shows the directories. There we go. So now we have the directories of the S drive of this of the Xbox, and here we can see all the other drives. So this shows that we have a success of exploit and we have access to the Xbox kernel. Okay, so I just restarted my Xbox. I'm gonna go ahead and open up those command prompts again with administration rights. So search bar, command prompt, run it as administrator. In this one, we are going to cd into the collateral damage folder. So right click, copy address, and then press enter. And here is where we're going to type in the new line for the netcat. So this is what we're going to type. Have the 64, well, depending on which version of NCAT that you have, .exe, and you're going to do -s. Oops. You're going to type in the IP address of your PC. So mine is 192.168.103.157 with quotes, and then we're going to do space -lvnp space 7070. Before I press enter, you do want to make sure that your PC and your Xbox are still on the same network. And once you do, you can go ahead and press enter. And now we have the netcat for Windows looking for the address of our PC at port 7070 or any port. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open another command prompt, and this one is going to be run with administrator. And this one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cd into the collateral damage folder and then press enter. And here we're going to type in the payload lines to get the payload server running. So I'm going to do payload, push enter. So now we have both of my commands waiting for the Xbox. So let me bring up the Xbox and see how it goes. Bring up the Windows and then do the show run code. And we're going to go down to run code once. So right now my Xbox is frozen, and now we're waiting for the server to do something. So crossing my fingers. Come on, come on, come on. You can do it. nothing happens and the please don't crash, please don't crash. Attempting to find kernel base, and we succeeded on the first try. So it's possible that maybe you just need to do a restart or do a first run and then restart, and maybe. So this was my first try after a fresh restart, and we have access to the drive again on the Xbox. So like I said, I don't know anything here. This is more for devs, and all I know is that you can type in this, and if you can, then you are seeing that you have access to the drive of the Xbox or the kernel. And from here, I have no idea. Later on in the line, when there are more options or apps or maybe homebrew or something, I will look more into it. So it's working for me here, and the Xbox is still frozen, but you can get in and out of it. And yeah, I don't know if it breaks the connection. Oh, it doesn't break the connection, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I am tired, I am frustrated, and I'm also happy. I finally got it to work. It feels really good when everything finally works. It's just so confusing, and I would completely understand if you are confused as well. So if you try it out and follow my video, everything should work out just fine. But of course, if it doesn't, you can leave a comment down below and I can try and help you out as best as I can. Believe me, I did everything like maybe 7 times, and just to find out that it was because of my netcat that I was typing was wrong, because I thought it was my Xbox that doesn't work well, and I just got it on the first try after a fresh reboot. So I don't know why it did this to me, but maybe it'll work for you typing it like this with your IP address, or maybe it might work with the way I show in the beginning of the video where I don't type the IP address. So it's a trial and error, and everybody makes mistakes. I made mistakes. I accidentally didn't put the right firmware on my first video for the Raspberry Pico, and it didn't work at all. And I couldn't get access to it no more, so I had to use another software that kills the Pico and brings it back. So I finally got it to do it the right way, and then I also found out that when I was recording earlier, that I had the wrong IP address, and when I finally tried it out, nothing was working for me, and I realized that I changed the IP address to my phone, and then I had to restart those parts of the videos. So I know I'm going to be all over the place on this video, and I'm making it sound very complicated, but it's actually pretty straightforward, and with the steps that I show you, you should be just fine. And it feels so nice when it finally works. But yeah, we are at the beginning stages. Once there is some more improvements, I will make an update video and show you how it works from there. But we got the hard part over. We have done the exploit, and now we have an Xbox that is fully prepared and just waiting for any type of updates with any type of homebrew or side loading or whatever that we can do, possibly do with this exploit. But other than that, I really appreciate those of you that stuck around for this video, and if you did, thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.